donate.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
It's Cinco de Mayo, you bastards.
The Washington Post reporting a high-profile conservative judicial activist, Leonard Leo, arranged for the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Ginny Thomas, to be paid tens of thousands of dollars in 2012, while also making it clear there should be no mention of her. So, according to the Post, this is how all of this happened. Judicial activist Leonard Leo advises a network of conservative nonprofits, including the Judicial Education Project. So he wanted Kellyanne Conway to give Ginny Thomas, quote, another $25K with, quote, no mention of Ginny, of course. Well, on that day, Conway's company billed the Judicial Education Project for $25,000. That money was for Ginny Thomas. It's unclear exactly what she did for Conway's polling company or for the Judicial Education Project, but that nonprofit did file a brief in Shelby v. Holder in 2012 where the court invalidated key parts of the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Right.
Justice Thomas wrote an opinion in that case that was consistent with the nonprofit's position.
Isn't that something? Isn't that fascinating, everybody? Yes, we're at the point in the criminal enterprise known as the United States of America, where you must have a justice in your pocket in order to do your criminal business. I mean, how much more do we need to learn? How much more do we need to learn about Clarence Thomas? I mean, this is bizarro world. It's not just him, and it's not just their wives, and it's not just Clarence. Now we find out it's John and Jane Roberts. Yeah, it's them and Kellyanne, who was, the senior advisor to President Trump. She was also, funneling the money, laundering the money through her polling company to Ginny Thomas's fake poll. I mean, it is just, it's such a predictable route. It's such a predictable corruption. It's knowable. Everybody could see it, So surprise, surprise, everybody. Surprise. Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, was getting payoffs on her own, separate and apart from his. Because, when you got your hands out, it's better to have 4 hands begging than 2. Ask anybody who's ever begged. Holy crap, man. So, listen, the thing here is these will never go down as the greatest justices in the history of the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas will never be one of the greats. Okay, he will be known as the most corrupt only because Scalia was able to die on a hunting trip in a rich guy's hunting camp. Right? He was able to die there, and then everybody said, "Well, he's dead. You can't talk badly about the dead." And that's how he got away with it. But we now know that there were 70 payments to Scalia. That Scalia literally, was writing, I was going to say prescriptions, because that's almost like what these opinions are. They're things that, would stop what ails the gun industry. They're prescriptions for the things that ail the fossil fuel industry. There are things that hobble our ability to vote because the Republican Party is very unpopular these days. Why? Because obviously they're taking away people's rights and people don't like it. But these payments to Ginny Thomas came from the guy who, if not for, I didn't give Alice a shout out yesterday. This is Sheldon Whitehouse. He's the new bobblehead on board. Okay, he's the new one, everybody. And this was a gift to me, a Christmas gift to me from Alice D. I don't want to say your name, your last name, Alice, because you'll get hate mail, is what you'll get. From people who don't understand the beauty and the forthrightness of a Sheldon Whitehouse. But anyway, Alice, thank you. I've neglected to say where I got it. But the reason why Leonard Leo's name is not because I say it right, because I've butchered it, 100,000 times in the last, 8 years. I call him Leo Leonard, Leo. Yeah, but I know exactly who I'm talking about. This guy it's like Sheldon told you. Leonard Leo he doesn't have business in front of the court. Leonard Leo's business is the court, rigging the court, fixing the court, paying the court. Okay? He's the buffer. He's the buffer. So they don't have to kill anybody. Do you know what I'm saying? And, they got a lot of buffers over there. And Ginny Thomas is apparently one of them. And Clarence is one of them. And Leonard Leo is one of them. And Harlan Crow is one of them. And now we're finding out that, rich billionaires die and they leave $1.6 million or $1.6 billion, $1.6 billion from a Chicago investment guy, died and left $1.6 billion to Leonard Leo's organization so that they can, make the government exactly what their goal was, 40 years ago, 50 years, I don't even know how long it was when Grover Norquist said that the goal was to make the government so small you could drown it in a bathtub. Now, who would want an unresponsive government that you pay taxes to? They don't pay taxes. And that's also part of the rigged system. But who in their right mind, other than the, few hundred billionaires in this country, I think there's 736 of them or some small number, but they're running everything. They're purchasing every moving part of the government to shrink it and make it drownable in a bathtub. Who that pays taxes would want a government that's not responsive to you in a hurricane or in a flood, or if there's a criminal enterprise operating in your village, your town, your city? Who would want a defanged, unable to respond government? Only billionaires. Why? Because we see what they do. They hire their own military. Oh, by the way, mentioning that, yesterday, I guess I was supposed to, but I didn't talk about, the big deal with, the Kremlin and the drone, and that, Medvedev and Putin are saying that Zelensky tried to assassinate him with a little drone that was captured on a 4K camera that was pointed right at the point of contact so that that video could be processed and sent around the world, and Putin could claim that it was Zelensky and Ukraine that tried to assassinate him at a place he never is, the Kremlin. No. I'll tell you who did it. Want to know who did it? And this is based on nothing. It's just based on me knowing what's going on in Ukraine and not really talking about it all that much because it's secret. I'll tell you who did it. Prigozhin did it. Yeah. The Wagner Group guy did it. Why? Because he's been begging Vlad for ammunition for I don't know how long in Bakhmut, where he was rope-a-doped. Okay, that's what's going on in that little town. That's why, people have said to you over the, transom of the media, when they explain to you what's going on in Ukraine, and some do and some don't, but when they do, they tell you that this thing in Bakhmut is over land that's really, it's not strategic, and it doesn't have value, and it's not like mining, and there's no energy there, and there's no, it's not Zaporizhia that has their largest, nuclear power plant to power. No, it's just like, and they were smart enough in Ukraine to rope-a-dope them, to draw Prigozhin and the Wagner mercenaries and all these criminals that came out of jails all across, the region, okay, all across Chechnya and all across, I don't want to say Serbia because that's, I don't know, but Chechnya and Siberia, right? All these criminals signed up, to go get their freedom by fighting to the death for the Wagner Group. Well, he doesn't have any more ammunition. And he's been asking Putin for ammunition. And you know what Putin's answer is? No. No, because you're failing in Bakhmut. So if anybody had a motive, if anybody had, a small little drone with like some firecracker type, explosives on it, it would be Prigozhin. And he would be the one that sent the message to Vlad that way. Zelensky isn't going to do that. The United States doesn't do that. We don't send a little, drone that people in Florida in their backyard have with a little firecracker, something you might shoot up on Cinco de Mayo. No, that's not, if you're going after Vlad, first of all, you follow the giant convoy of SUVs that follow him. That did not happen here. No, this is definitely Prigozhin. Just saying. As an aside.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Leonard Leo, free to do what he wants to do. But Americans need to know who Leonard Leo is. They've heard the name. They need to know he is responsible for the right of women to choose being taken away for the first time in a half century. That's his right. That's his life goal. He did it. It's again, it's a free country, right? He's got $1.5 billion now, something like $1.5 billion now that somebody gave to him.
Yeah.
And the radicalism of the court that is now a radicalism of his view of what justice should be is going to be accelerated tenfold now with that money. And we're seeing how he spreads that money around, in this case, in a way that causes a lot of concerns. Shouldn't we know more about who Leonard Leo is and how he has changed America? So 10-year-old girls who are raped in Ohio have to flee the state because they may not be able to get abortions in their own home states.
Well, get on that, Joe. Get right on that. Why is it independent media? Why is it people who don't work for corporate America? Why is it people who don't have the kind of reach that the cables do have been talking to you about Leonard Leo since the Kavanaugh nomination, okay, and the confirmation hearing? Why is that? How come that is? I'm very unclear. But listen, hey, more the merrier. That's what I always say. Don't I always say that, Brett? The more the merrier. So if you wanted to cover Leonard Leo and every reporter in the United States, every single person who feels like their job in journalism is to protect the exact thing that we're in jeopardy of losing. And I don't mean, the right to go see a doctor anymore. I don't mean the right to access health care. I don't mean the right to access your VA benefits or Social Security or Medicare. No. At this point, we're talking something much more basic. We're talking democracy itself. We're talking access to the ballot. We're talking about getting ballot initiatives on the ballot. We're talking about gerrymandering. We're talking about the things that the Supreme Court actually considers and rules on. I mean, if you are concerned at all for the denigration of democracy itself, then every single journalist in America ought to be covering Harlan Crow, the Koch brothers, Leonard Leo, the Federalist Society, the Donors Trust, everything from Citizens United from 2012 on out, okay? But they don't. They don't want to cover it. And I'm not exactly clear why things like this would be a one-day story. See, this is why the reporting about, Clarence Thomas that has been done at, I guess, Politico that's doing it, right, is coming out drip, drip, drip. They're doing it on purpose. They're doing it so people will not get it in one giant dump and ignore it after a day. Every day, day after day after day, there's more about the bribery there, and that's what it is. People can come up with they need to disclose and they don't have ethics. This is bribery, and the wives are being bribed too. They're in on it too. Jane Roberts literally went to law firms and said, "Hey, it's been 2 years now since John is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and it's time that you understood the importance of that." And how I'm a lawyer too, and I have wrapped up my lawyer career in service of something bigger and better. And that is, let's recruit for your law firm someone that my husband John will listen to in an argument and know that is a person to be listened to in an argument. She made $10 million doing that swill, that crap. $10 million. $10 million. I mean, we're not talking chump change anymore. We're talking and Ginny and Clarence, like I said, they're never going to go down as the greatest of anything. Not even the greatest, grifters. Not even the greatest grafters. I guess Harlan is the grafter and they're the grifter. And they're calling it a gift. It's not a gift. It's graft. It's graft and grift, and that equals a gift in some people's minds if you work for Fox or if you want the government shrunken so small that you could shrink it in a bathtub so that polluters can pollute. so that gun manufacturers can, just manufacture guns and shove them over the border into Mexico and create drug wars that are, self-fulfilling prophecies, and the need for guns are endless. And then also, do it here. Do it here so people are at each other's throats and scared of each other, and not forming any sort of a cohesive, pushback against this plan, this plot, right? Because they're too busy being fearful of each other. And then, just in service of the fossil fuel industry, or in service of the gun manufacturers, or in service of, the people who want to gerrymander and don't want people to really show up and vote, what we'll do is we'll start erasing certain rights. We'll start erasing certain people. And that is what they're doing. They're literally erasing people. Do you know that yesterday, this is so sick and sad and pathetic, but totally predictable, totally. So yesterday in Florida, because Florida exists for the point of being cruel. I mean, cruelty is the point of Florida. It is. So yesterday in Florida, the state House and Senate passed a piece of legislation that allows for the state, so much for parental rights, everybody, so much for that, allows the state to take your child from you if you, as a parent of a transgender child, dealing with this awful situation where some organs, external, say one thing, and other organs, internal, like the brain. Isn't it interesting when they talk about sexual organs, they always leave out the brain? Well, women know it all happens in the brain. Women know that. But if you're a parent dealing with a child who has a conflict with their organs, telling them different things, sending different messages, an external message of this and an internal message of that, and you see your child suffering and you're trying to alleviate the suffering of your child, and we all know that there's nothing a decent parent wouldn't do to alleviate suffering for their children. And if you actually are with a doctor discussing this, unique situation, discussing what to do, how to, help your child not suffer, that the state, if the state finds out that you're doing that, the state can take your child away. They also want attestations, meaning sworn statements from doctors all across the state. And if they don't sign the attestation saying that they will not administer or write a prescription for hormone blockers to any under 18. Now, puberty blockers are used for an extraordinary number of things, not just transitions. But if a doctor in Florida doesn't sign an attestation saying that they will not prescribe puberty blockers, then the state can come swoop in and take your child. So much for parental rights. Texas, they want Bible study and, prayer in school, and they just passed a law making it mandatory to hang the 10 Commandments. I'm guessing not in the original Hebrew. I'm guessing that would be bad. I don't know. But that's what they have in mind. So much for parental rights.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Texas schools could soon be required to display the 10 Commandments in every classroom starting in the next school year. That's after a bill passed the Senate this evening. Gerald Harris live in the newsroom with this story. Gerald?
Yeah, Len, you may remember last time the Texas legislature was in session, they passed a similar law.
Wait a minute. While this is up on the screen, can I just show you they have Roman numerals? Moses brought the tablets down. It was in Hebrew. I guess they don't want it to Roman numerals? Okay.
Requiring "In God We Trust" to be displayed in public schools. Now the Senate wants to add more religious items in schools. Senate Bill 1515 by North Texas Republican State Senator Phil King would require a poster or frame copy of the 10 Commandments. All public schools, including elementary and secondary classrooms, and for it to be displayed in a clearly visible area to students. King says the 10 Commandments are part of America's history and traditions.
In Texas prior to 1980, you quite likely saw copies of the Ten Commandments because of their moral code, their place in history, and their place in American and Western law.
The Senate also passed SB 1396 by Galveston Republican Senator Mays Middleton, which would allow public and charter schools to adopt a policy requiring every campus to set aside a time for students and employees to pray and read the Bible or other religious text. Attorney General Ken Paxton applauded both bills, saying putting the 10 Commandments and prayers back in public schools will make students better Texans. Both bills head to the State House, where they are still being discussed in committees.
What? How many of the 10 Commandments has the Texas governor broken? Just him alone. What is the meaning to the Texas governor when it says "Thou shalt not kill"? What is the meaning there? Because they got a death penalty over there, and everybody's killing each other over there. And Uvalde, they killed little kids. They killed little children over there. And, if you kill the right person, according to Abbott, he'll pardon you, right? If he agrees with the shooter's politics, he will pardon the shooter, especially if the shooter shoots somebody that Greg Abbott disagrees with. You're going to preach to me? You're going to preach to me about the Hebrew 10 Commandments that Moses went to Mount Sinai and got for us? It makes no sense to me at all. It makes no sense. It's a stand-in for doing anything about gun violence. It's a stand-in for doing anything about wages. It's a stand-in for doing anything about people who want to, unionize. It's a stand-in, all-purpose, who could disagree with Christian values, kind of a bullcrap, a chum. You know what I mean? It's like, so anyway. There are Democrats in the Texas legislature. Not that you would know it, but there are a few of them. And the ones that are there are also Christian. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, they're also Christian, like James Tallarico. Okay, James Tallarico is a practicing Christian Democrat member of the Texas Ledge, as they call it. And he wanted to know, from the people who are advocating for this display of the Christian version of the Ten Commandments, complete with Roman numerals, which I find hysterical. Really, he was wondering, what about parental consent? I mean, you've always been about parents, right? You've said that parents have, the right to ban books, right? And parents have the right to teach their children, whatever they want to teach them at home about sex or religion, and it shouldn't be taught in school. And now you're saying that only the sex part can't be taught in school, but the religion part can, and I'm all confused. What is the deal?
Every time on this committee that we try to teach students values like empathy or kindness, we're told we can't because that's the parents' role. Every time on this committee that we try to teach basic sex education to keep our kids safe, we're told that's the parents' role. But now you're putting religious commandments, literal commandments, in our classrooms, and you're saying that's the state's role. Why is that not the parents' role?
Silence.
That's really an interesting rabbit trail that you've gone on with that.
It's a rabbit trail? What do you mean it's a rabbit trail? It's the facts. It's the truth, and that's why she has no answer for it. That's why she goes, down to radio silence there, because there is no answer for it, because it's hypocrisy in the flesh. That is what it is. It is just, listen, you can't teach American history in Texas. That's the parents' role, not the school's role. You certainly can't teach anything about sex education, and safety and STDs and chlamydia. That's the parents' role. But religion, well, if it's our religion, then we want it taught in school. So he follows up and he says, well, will you ask parents for their consent before you start, choosing one religion over another, which is in violation of the Constitution, which you don't want to teach? You're going to even ask the parents?
Would you be comfortable with adding language to receive parental consent from all the parents of students in the classroom before putting it up?
I would not. I am, again, going to keep it clean as it came over.
So you don't want parental consent when it comes to students receiving religious commandments?
I don't believe that. I think that these are foundational to to being a good citizen.
Religion is foundational to being a good citizen? Really? I thought being a good citizen meant that you understood what citizenship requires and what citizenship allows. And what it requires is that you never establish a national religion. You know, it's called the Establishment Clause. It's the first thing in the Constitution. She doesn't want to ask parents whether or not she wants her children whether or not I want my children indoctrinated into their elevated religion, the one that they want to elevate, the one that they want to make the national religion, at least the state religion. Really? I find this fascinating. And then he actually points out to her that you understand that we're not supposed to make graven images in the Ten Commandments. You understand that this is the most unchristian thing you could do as a Christian, right? Right? You get that?
And I say this to you as a fellow Christian. Representative Noble, I know you're a devout Christian, and so am I. This bill, to me, is not only unconstitutional, it's not only un-American, I think it is also deeply unchristian. And I say that because I believe this bill is idolatrous. I believe it is exclusionary. Yeah. And I believe it is arrogant. And those three things, in my reading of the gospel, are diametrically opposed.
He's very, very, good. You know why? Because he really is a Christian. He really is. And he's really a good citizen. And he really understands the Constitution. And he really is a good representative of the values that may present in his constituency that might not be evangelical Christianity all the time, every day, even when you're violating the commandments. So we can't teach history. We can't teach constitutional law. We can't teach anything at all about, sex education or, nothing. Just pray about it. Pray about the gun violence. Pray about the money in politics. Pray about the Supreme Court. What the F, man? Honestly.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I don't always think that the legislature obeys the Ten Commandments. So I just want to walk through a couple. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Are you aware the legislature is scheduled to meet this Saturday?
I am aware of that.
So that would be violating the Ten Commandments.
I contend that is you're right.
Thou shalt not kill. Are you aware the legislature has refused to outlaw the death penalty?
We're using the words that are on the monument because it has been upheld by the Supreme Court. But we're talking about murder here and not justice. And certainly not war.
The translation that I'm looking at in your bill is thou shalt not kill.
Absolutely. And that is that. And the reason we are using that language again is because that is the language that has been upheld by the Supreme Court.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Be true to the one you love.
Yeah. And I'm sure somewhere in the Ten Commandments it says the leader of our party ought to be a repetitive sex offender. Next week it's going to be all about the verdict in the E. Jean Carroll case. And it does look like E. Jean Carroll will prevail because Donald Trump didn't defend himself at all. And in fact, they were able to play Donald Trump at his deposition regarding the offense of raping E. Jean Carroll in Bergdorf Goodman's dressing room. And he agreed that when you're a star, they let you do it. He agreed with that. And then he denigrated E. Jean Carroll over and over. Like the jury heard 35 times Trump calling everybody, including E. Jean Carroll and her lawyer, names. This is all he had was name calling. This is a New York jury. New York juries aren't going to be, fooled by a fourth grade bully. They understand that this woman is 79 years old and waited her entire life to get the law changed so she could bring this case. Holy crap, man. But the leader of their party is a sex fiend, a sexual abuser, if not a rapist. She had two other women describe the MO. Two other women took the stand and said exactly the same thing happened to them. Okay. Jessica Leeds said it was like a zillion hands. He just started kissing me, which is what he says he does. And they were able to play the Access Hollywood tape. They were able to play that for the jury. So now check this out. So Trump, was offered a chance to testify. Obviously, he has a right to defend himself, and he passed. He said no. He told Joe Tacopina, his lawyer, to say he was not going to appear. Donald Trump is not appearing here? No, Donald Trump will not appear here. And then all of a sudden, I guess it was a bad week for him, right? It was just a terrible week. Clarence Thomas is a suspect now. Kellyanne Conway got fingered through. It's not Politico. It's ProPublica. I apologize to ProPublica's awesome journalism. But anyway, so they've been reporting, all of this, dirty, swampy bribery, that goes on in the elite portion of our governance. And, I guess Donald Trump thought, the Proud Boys got convicted of seditious conspiracy. The court's getting caught being rigged. Leonard Leo, the guy who gave me the list of Gorsuch and Amy, the guy that gave me the name of, Kavanaugh, all these, all this paid for, stuff that I did. It's all getting exposed now. This is a very bad week. Maybe I ought to go back and testify before I lose a rape case. So the judge, Kaplan, in this case, did something that no judge ever does. The lawyer that represents Donald Trump submitted to the court the fact that Donald Trump was waiving his defense. Didn't want to put on a defense, didn't want to participate in a defense, wasn't going to testify in his own defense, wasn't going to call any witnesses in his own defense. That was it. Rested. Okay? The prosecution rested and the defense rested. All of a sudden, Judge Kaplan hears this rumor that Donald Trump, who's off golfing in Scotland, might feel like it was a bad week for him. Might feel like he's losing, so much winning, that he's losing everything. Every case, every person that he supported, every person he said he would pardon has just gotten convicted for seditious conspiracy, for trying to overthrow a duly elected government. Now, what's interesting, the Republicans never protested that. They were on that same ballot and they shouldn't be seated. No, never, because they were part of the coup. But okay, so now he says through some intermediaries that he's going to get on a plane and he's going to go back to New York and he needs to testify because he was going to try to lie for another $30 from the dupes, for another $30 donation from the maggots, right? That they denied him his chance to testify. So you know what Judge Kaplan said? Okay, I understand the defense rested. I understand that you waived your right to appear, that you didn't want to testify, you didn't want to present a case, you didn't want to bring a witness, you didn't want to bring an expert, you didn't want to do anything in your defense. And now you're freaking out because we were able to show your deposition, we were able to show you in your own words saying what you believe is true about being able to just start kissing them, to just start grabbing them, to just have your way with them. When you're a star, you can do it. And you know it's not going to go well for you with this jury. So I'll give you till Sunday, this Sunday, at 5 o'clock to withdraw the fact that you don't want to put on a case. Nobody gets that second bite at the apple in a court of law. Nobody. I've been in a court of law many, many times, unfortunately. And frankly, I can't believe this judge is bending over backwards to give him a chance. So he says he's getting on a plane. He's going to do good luck with that, because next week we're going to have a verdict. The jury will probably get the case on Monday, unless Donald Trump shows up to testify, which should be a riot. But this is crazy because there's no cameras in the courtroom, and I swear it's such a teachable moment, and we're just letting them pass a teachable moment that the Christians who want to put the Ten Commandments up and want to undo parental authority to teach their children whatever they feel they want their children to believe or to know about the creation of the universe, the whole shebang. Whether or not they want their kids to think it was a Big Bang Theory, whether or not they want their kids to believe there were dinosaurs, or whether or not they want their kids to believe that, Adam and Eve were in a garden, she ate an apple, and then shame. It's up to the parent. No, they don't want that. They want to just ram it down the throats of the kids. Ram it down the throats of the kids, this Christianity. And the leader of their party is about to be found guilty of raping a woman. And the runner-up, the little meatball in Florida, okay, his entire prescription of policy is cruelty. He wants to erase children who he finds inconvenient. These are people that want to erase people who are waiting for asylum verdict. These are, and next week, all you're going to hear about is bullcrap about the border. Here's what you need to remember every time you hear bullcrap about the border, okay? Because it's going to get real loud and real noisy, and we won't be able to interrupt all the screaming and the yelling and the noise. So here, going in this little period of time that we have where it's really, as quiet as it's going to get about border security, okay? Remember this, the Republicans have had the House, the Senate, and the presidency before, okay, with Donald Trump. And yet again, the Republicans have the House of Representatives, right? Have they introduced any immigration reform legislation at all? Have they increased the amount of money or the amount of technology at the border? Have they done anything at all to set up hubs in the home country? That was something that Democrats proposed years ago as a way for people to apply for asylum but not have to leave their home country right yet, where they can make the claim that if they stay in their country, they will be unsafe, or if they stay in their country, they will starve, or if they stay in their country, their children will be recruited into gangs or die. Well, Biden's already done that. Not that you would know. But we have hubs now. We have a hub in Guatemala for Guatemalans to apply for asylum in Guatemala, and we have a hub in Colombia that services, portions of South America, like Venezuela, Colombia, in the north there, the northwest part of South America. And, they sent, 1,500 unarmed troops down there to process, to do administrative work, to process paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. But the Republicans are the impediment to immigration reform. They are the impediment to making, an immigration system that somewhat flows, where people can say, it works. All you need to do is not do it illegally, and you will get considered. And if it's really dangerous in our country, they will take us. They will take us. And also, Biden just made a deal with the Mexican president, Obrador. And they will keep a whole bunch of people from Haiti. They will keep a whole bunch of people from Cuba and Venezuela in Mexico and offer them an opportunity to stay in Mexico while they're waiting in Mexico. But you won't hear anything about that. But just remember, the Republicans did nothing. Squat, zero. Nothing.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
You say, and again, this has become very famous in this video, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
What?
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.
Oh, I think that's a confession, don't you? I think that was. I thought it was locker room talk. This is the leader of the Christian Evangelicals Party, okay? This is the leader of the Christian terrorist organization. This is the leader of the white Christian nationalists. A guy who says, well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on if you're on the receiving end or the giving end of the, violence, when you're a star, yeah, you can do whatever you want, yeah.
I mean, they play back to him one of the most reprehensible things a president has ever said, anybody's ever said. And in the face of that, he just doubles down. This guy,
Instead of saying it was locker room talk, which is what he,
I said it. I'm sorry. It's not right. It was locker room talk. I was with the guys. Not right. None of that. No, doubles right down.
Yeah. Billy Bush was, he brings out the worst in me. Whatever. I was trying to show off for a friend. There's a million things you could say. A million things. But he said, no, historically, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on if you're the rapist or the rapee, yeah, it's true. Well, do you consider yourself a star? Yeah, I guess you could say that's true. That is a confession, everybody, and that is what a jury is going to see and hear. Well, they already did, and they are going to listen then to the 3 other women who testified, E. Jean Carroll, Jessica Leeds, the Stoyanov, I think is her name, the People magazine reporter, who was there to cover his wife. The People magazine reporter was at Magaloco trying to cover Melania. I think it was Melania and Donald's first anniversary or some such crap. And Donald Trump literally, grabbed her and sexually inserted various body parts into her, too. When she was there to do an article on his freaking wife. So much for the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. What about honor thy mother and father? I mean, none of that seems to matter to any of these people. Honestly, parental rights and all that. No, so you got this guy here. Oh, and by the way, there's another clip that the judge released. Now, I'm telling you, I know why the judge released it, and anybody who thinks about it will know that this is the reason. The judge has released these videotapes of Donald Trump's deposition last year to the public so that Donald Trump will show up and defend himself. The judge doesn't want to give this to the jury without Donald Trump having a chance to say anything to defend himself. Now, I've never heard of a judge saying, okay, well, he has made his, withdrawal known through his lawyer. He has spoken to the court and said that he is waiving any defense to be brought on his behalf. He's instructed his lawyer not to bring a defense. He's instructed they were going to call a psychiatrist. That's who they were going to call. That was who was on their witness list. In the end, the psychiatrist was not available. What to make of that? So there was no defense, and Joe Tacopina waived a defense. So the judge is releasing this to say, Donald, you really need to show up if you have any prayer of not being found guilty of rape, okay? You really need to show up. This is what the jury saw.
That she's not my type? Yeah, because it's not politically correct to say it, and I know that, but I'll say it anyway.
She's not
She's
my type.
accusing me of rape. A woman that I have no idea who she is. It came out of the blue. She's accusing me of rape, of raping her. The worst thing you can do, the worst charge. And it's not true too. You're a political operative also. Oh. You're a disgrace. But she's accusing me, and so are you, of rape, and it never took place. And I will tell you, I made that statement, and I said, well, it's politically incorrect. She's not my type.
And then you were shown a picture of her and you together at an event, and you said, oh, that's Marla. You confused E. Jean Carroll with your second wife, Marla Maples, who, by the way, you cheated with on your first wife, and now you're on wife number 3. And Stoyanov has testified that while she was there to cover wife number 3, you raped her too. That's what the jury heard. And when he was shown the picture of E. Jean Carroll, and he said, oh, that's my wife, Marla, okay, the jury saw that too. So this... not my type, never met her, don't know her. I mean, this is like Trump 101. This was the entry-level Trump denial syndrome that we've all been treated to over the years. Michael Cohen, never met him, don't know him. Igor Fruman, remember that? The Ukrainian guys, right? Never met him, don't know him. Thousands of pictures show up. Thousands of pictures. Videos, Rudy and Fruman, Trump and Fruman. I mean, it's insane. This is what he did. I never knew him, never met him. You're lying. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace. That's his favorite word. You're a disgrace. You're a political operative. Never happened. Never happened. Apparently it did, and happened multiple times with 26 different women who all tell the same story. You have the same MO. You have the same move. He has no new moves. It's the same move. He just starts kissing them, and then he shoves his hand up your dress. That's what he does. Disgusting. But this is the Christian, this is their guy. This is their guy. You know why? Because their God is not God. Their God is not Jesus. Their God is not Moses. Their God isn't Hashem. Their God isn't the Lord God. Their God is a gun. Their God is a piece of metal. That's what they worship. And everyone knows it. And Donald Trump is all about punishing women and misogyny and have a gun, have two, have three, have a bazooka. I don't care. I don't care. I got security. What do I care? What do I care? I live on the 59th floor of a 58th floor building or whatever. I don't care. You know, I got to tell you, Raphael Warnock talked about this death. Okay, this "thou shalt not kill" thing is it's so bizarre and it's so wrong, as something that the Republicans adhere to, which would be one of the commandments. That he gave the most amazing floor speech this week after the Atlanta shooting. Which, you know, listen, we started on Monday with a shooting. Does anybody remember it? I barely do. I mean, it gets all mixed up. There's so many of them. Hard to keep, Jackson, hard to keep Nashville separate from Atlanta, separate from, where was the other one?
Was it Kentucky?
Yes, Kentucky, Louisville. See?
I'm sitting here and as I'm struggling,
just being honest.
So depressed that I'm struggling this much. It's crazy.
Listen, this is we haven't had a day without a shooting in this country. Just haven't had one, not even one. I mean, how in the world could anybody possibly, fill up their permanent Rolodex with all the shootings and then be expected to know anything else? It would take up all the memory. See, AI is going to be able to sort through all the data. We're too stupid to do that. And the data, it's just like there's too much of it. Hey, watch The Matrix this weekend. I think you should. I really do. I think you should. Because that's the future. It's so weird because when it came to media, I kept telling you, watch the movie from 1976, believe it or not, which was supposed to be satire. It was supposed to be comedy called Network, right? And you'll see what's going to happen. They're going to have the death hour. They're going to have car crashes and murders and people being held hostage and kidnappings, and they'll call it the death hour, and everyone will tune in. That was funny back in 1976. That was hysterical, and it's happened. So now you have to watch The Matrix, because that's going to be the prophetic movie. It's supposed to be sci-fi. It's going to happen.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We behave as if this is normal. It is not normal. It is not right for us to live in a nation where nobody is safe no matter where they are. We're not safe in our schools. We're not safe in our workplaces. We're not safe at the grocery store. We're not safe at movie theaters. We're not safe at spas. We're not safe in our houses of worship. There is no sanctuary in the sanctuary. We're not safe at concerts. We're not safe at banks. We're not safe at parades. We're not safe in our own yards and in our own homes. And now, today, we can add medical facilities to that list. And still, we have done so very little in this building to respond.
That's because the gun money has paid off the Supreme Court. That's what happened here. That's why, Scalia took 70 hunting trips with the gun money paying his way. And Clarence is dirty. His wife is dirty. John Roberts, the Chief Justice, his wife is dirty. I mean, it's all to move forward. Fossil fuel interests, gun interests, even churches, even religious, prosperity gospel types. The whole idea. You know, do you remember the other day I played you a little clip of Josh Hawley, you know, flexing his muscle, holding the mic in a weird way, and he was telling you God wants you to have a purpose, and he has one just for you that he gave to, and we were mocking him, we were making fun of it. You know,
that was the real gun show, Randy.
That was the real gun show. You know that he was in a church. He was in a freaking church that had like Men Day. It was all men's issues and Men's Day, and you know they had tanks in an arena like it was the Coliseum or some such crap. Honestly, they had tanks and guys popping out of the turret in the tank, shooting guns, and they had fireworks, and they had, you know, all kinds of, you know, manly, gun exhibits. This is a tax-exempt endeavor. You know, Leonard Leo is tax-exempt too because he calls what he does education. I mean, they are playing so many games with you because that is what the money wants. The money wants to shrink the government so small that they could drown it in a bathtub while we are making each other unsafe because they're feeding you a steady diet of fear and resentment. I mean, there's nothing except that we're finding out who wants it. That's the only new thing here, is we're finding out who's paying for this and who wants this to happen and who's, you know, in whose interests it is for us to be so distracted with trying to stay safe in a supermarket or a grocery store or a movie theater or a concert or in a place of worship or in a hospital. You know? I mean, our kids are traumatized. Our kids are so traumatized. The live fire drills, and now they want to deputize them. I swear to God, they want 8-year-olds in Texas to be paramedics, to have a knowledge of what to do with the bleeding stations that they want to place in schools. Bleeding station. I mean, this is the sickest, most twisted. Look, it takes 2 seconds to tell the truth and a lifetime to lie. And that's why it takes them 50 years to get their way with you, because it's all below board. It's not above board. It's not a true, ideology. It's an ideology that's self-serving. But maybe they think that's what the prosperity gospel is. I don't know. It's really sick and twisted. But Warnock was like, he was like, there's a mass shooting every single day. And they want to put the 10 Commandments? They want to say, thou shalt not kill? Really? Are you kidding me, man? Right?
My own 2 children were on lockdown this afternoon. I have 2 small children, and their schools were on lockdown responding to this tragedy. They are there, I'm here, hoping and praying that they are safe. But the truth is, none of us is safe. As a pastor, I'm praying for those who are affected by this tragedy, but I hasten to say that thoughts and prayers are not enough. And in fact, it is a contradiction to say that you are thinking and praying and then do nothing. It is to make a mockery of prayer.
It is.
It is to trivialize faith. We pray not only with our lips, we pray with our legs. We pray by taking action.
Yes, you do. Totally. Okay? Prayer without works, prayer without deeds is a mockery of what prayer is. Okay? You know, I honestly, I look at these psychos that want to put the 10 Commandments on a wall in a school but don't want to live by them, but want to, tell us that, parental rights and all that. I mean, it's just so it's so hypocritical, and it's so it's in violation of its own self that you got to understand that this is all for a different purpose. And the purpose is to steal. The purpose is to pollute. The purpose is to sell. The purpose, I mean, honestly, it's like it's a mafia mixed with a terrorist organization. It is some hybrid of those two things. Because as we were talking about yesterday, words have meaning, and the idea that, a mafia protects its business, right? And that is what the mafia's main goal is to protect its business, and anybody that isn't loyal to the advancement of their business has to go. Okay, and they will use violence to get rid of that person because they're in the way of business. It's not personal, it's business. And then terrorism is violence in service of a political ideology. And these people are serving both up in a melange of evil, in a melange of ugly, of death, of disinformation, misinformation. I mean, all of it is just, it's a mishmash of a terror, like a terrorist group meets, business. Disgusting. It's ugly. It's deadly. It's making us not have life, not have liberty, not have the ability to pursue our hopes and dreams, our happiness. I mean, here's a woman. I'm going to play you on the other side, okay? Because I didn't know that we were up against a break. There is a woman, a representative. Listen, here's the message that I need to get out to you right this second. If you were ever thinking about running for anything like your state house or your state senate or even the city council, Dallas, I think you have an election this weekend for the city council. Now's the time to actually think about getting involved, because this is all happening in the states, okay? All of this crazy is happening in Florida. It's happening in Arkansas. It's happening in Alabama. It's happening in Mississippi. It's happening in Oklahoma. They're literally stealing parental rights away from parents, erasing people they find inconvenient, telling people that, their idol, it should be the gun, not thou shalt not kill.
Call in, connect. Speak to Randi. Call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, this is a Democratic state legislator named Alma Adams from North Carolina explaining to you that not all Christians are the same in their idolatry of the gun.
Unfortunately, since the mass shooting in Nashville on March 27th, over 900 additional people were killed by gun violence in our country, 22 in Tennessee alone. It really makes me sick. It makes me livid that we continue to accept the status quo and that we are comfortable living in a country where at any time our friends, our families, our neighbors, even our children and our grandchildren can die a horrible death because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time when the wrong person had a gun. And so we will be judged if we don't act, not only by history, not only by our God, but by our children who will inherit our country with this metastasized gun cancer still attached. I'm a Christian, and as someone who knows and reads and lives Scripture, I can tell you beyond a doubt that the AR-15, the assault rifle, is the golden calf of Washington, D.C. And too many people in the people's house worship this idol and treat it with reverence. However, just like in Scripture, if we continue to worship this idol, the result will be physical and spiritual death.
Yep.
I stand with Representatives Justin Pearson and Justin Jones and saying no more silence. We have to do better. Gun reform now. No more silence. We have to do better. Gun reform now.
I mean, everybody of faith, everybody who has a little bit of power, everybody who sees what's going on, everybody who's not on the take, who isn't doing what the gun manufacturing lobby wants done here or the fossil fuel industry wants done here, all the people that haven't been greased or paid are telling you the same thing, that people who are greased and paid are making us unsafe and less free. And that their minions, the people they preach to, the people that they misinform or disinform, are being sold a bill of goods. They're being told that the gun is their golden calf. The gun is their God. That's why they combine it in a sentence. God, guns, and whatever. Okay, death is what naturally comes to me when you say that. But this is all at the behest of business. It's not personal, people. It's business. That's why I'm saying if you were ever thinking of running for the state legislature in your state, do it. I mean, do it. It's not as expensive as running, for a district in the federal. It's not as expensive as running for the Senate seat, in a whole state. This is a great place for you to be, especially in 2024, because the Supreme Court is bought now. You understand, and I don't know how we survive this except to do a few things. One of them would be to increase the number of court seats, because there are 13, districts. There are 13 district courts, appeals courts. So there should be 13 seats. We have increased the number of seats. Congress does that. It's in the Constitution. Congress created the court. Congress decides when the court meets. Congress decides how many seats there are on the court. So this idea of separation of powers, that's disinformation too. It's misinformation, disinformation. It's a lie. It's not true. All right. And so Congress can add seats. The other thing Congress can do is term limit these justices so that we don't have this timing of, hey, I'm 90 years old, or I'm 89 years old, or I have Alzheimer's, or whatever it is, and I can't serve anymore, but I can't step down while there's a Republican president, or I can't step down while there's a Democratic president. Okay? Take your pick. And it's timed so that a Democratic president or a Republican president gets to replace you. That's rigging the game, right? And that's exactly what was going on, except Antonin Scalia just up and got killed at a hunting extravaganza, right? And so nobody was counting on that. And so a Democrat was president, and we had a chance to put a moderate in that seat. Merrick Garland would have been the pick. And Mitch McConnell said, oh, no, oh, hell no. If a Supreme Court justice dies on a Democratic president's watch, then we hold the seat open. We hold the seat open. And if it looks like Donald Trump's going to lose, but his seat comes open, okay, then we put somebody on the court 8 days before an election. I mean, honestly, it was such a rigged thing. And, I'm only listening to, my husband in heaven, Sheldon Whitehouse, explain how you solve these difficult problems, right? I mean, he's one of the best legal minds I know, and he's telling us that there are things that can be done here.
I think there are a lot of ways to fix this, and one of them is to pass a law that requires them to put in place a proper ethics infrastructure and bring a lot more transparency to the court. I have a bill that would put them under term limits.
I was going to mention that.
And that, I think, is an important way to regularize the process of replacing the judges.
Yeah.
So you don't get these political moments where Justice Kennedy is in touch with the Trump administration about resigning and trying to figure out how to get Kavanaugh on as his replacement. And all that political murk really does not belong around a judicial appointment. Set aside Leonard Leo and his billionaires.
And then somehow we get a botched FBI investigation into Kavanaugh's past that somehow doesn't find anything.
Yeah.
It all is too cute by half, and it's too convenient.
Yep. And it all points in the same direction.
Big money.
Big money and big political influence.
I mean, and that's why we have a majority of Americans with a government that isn't responsive to a majority of Americans. That's why it's like this, because every single nook and cranny of our government that can be bought, that is for sale, has been sold. And this is what it looks like. And this is what it feels like. And this is what it sounds like. And since 2012, it's been on. I mean, since 2012, the money has been flowing. The Citizens United, David Bossi's case, that thing just opened up the doors. It just made it possible to do legal bribery, like in full sight, right? It's in full sight. You can see the crime in. I mean, it's like a Sherlock Holmes novel. Do you know? I mean, it's the dog that didn't bark, or it's the purloined letter that was laying there in front of your face the whole time. It's happening right in front of your eyes, right? And it doesn't matter what political party you think is, deserving or not. It matters that there's a crime going on in front of your eyes. And they're trying to blind you to it any way they can. Any way they can. Look over there. Look at this small, shiny object. Oh, it's the woke libs that you need to worry about. Really? You need to worry about, a couple of kids using a bathroom? That's what's going to, motivate you to vote or not vote or whatever it is? Oh, it's immigration. Right. That's right. It's all about immigration. Yeah, well, your Republican Party has refused to do anything about immigration reform. They refuse to do a thing because they know it will blind you to the bribery.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Here's the fact. 7 million people have crossed that border illegally since Joe Biden took office. There's been over 100 folks that have been on the terrorist watch list that have been apprehended. There is record fentanyl seizures, record fentanyl deaths in this country because Joe Biden has opened the border and said, come on in. And it is an absolute just disgrace.
Okay, none of that is true. You understand that? None of it is true. And what he's saying, he's putting in certain words, apprehensions, meaning they didn't get into the country illegally. They were apprehended at the border. The fentanyl has been seized, border seizures, meaning they intercepted the fentanyl. I mean, listen, they leave this impression, and because today is Cinco de Mayo, and you know how like everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day? Let's all be Mexican on Cinco de Mayo. Let's all be Mexicans, right? So we could all be targeted by the MAGA types and ID in our lives the people who hate us. Just let's do it. Be careful, though. You might get shipped to Chicago on a bus. Brother David.
Exactly, sister. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Feliz Cinco de Mayo a ti.
Sí.
Say igual. Say igual.
Igual.
Thank you.
De nada. I am seriously
igual.
I almost said iguana, like on the
igual. Igual is a nice uniform. Like somebody wishes you well, you wish them back equally. So you say igual.
I know igual.
Igualamente. Equally. Yes.
There's so much that you brought up today. But back to, because I seriously am memorizing Timothy Snyder's book, because there's only a vowel and a consonant between banning and burning. The thing that jumped out at what you were saying is that truth dies in 4 modes. The first is the open hostility to verifiable reality, which presents inventions and lies as if they were facts. January 6th, I rest his case. The second mode is incantation of a shamanistic repetition, endless repetition. The Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary, you're a disgrace, Tokyo Roads. The third is magical thinking, or the open embrace of contradictions. And the final mode is misplaced faith. And as somebody in the chat room, I think Mike Farley, said, why don't we replace the 10 Commandments with the 14 modes of fascism?
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you, Roman numerals, really, that's what the Romans did. And as you and I both know, the separation of church and state is for the protection of both institutions.
Yes, it is.
And I defy anyone who's embracing that to tell me one time in history when the two merged and it did not end in chaos, destruction, and the end of the culture that did them.
Right, and bloody, bloody conquest. I mean, obviously. So that's why, it's so interesting that, the preservation of church and state is to preserve both. Has never been truer, and people need to, absorb that and know that. But if you want to get all biblical about the separation of church and state, render unto Caesar, the government, what is Caesar's, render unto God.
We're on a psychic link. Yep. Yep.
What is
Yep.
God's? I mean, you can't serve two masters. It's in there. It's biblical, for God's sake. It predates the Constitution, but the Constitution includes the separation of church and state for that exact reason.
For that exact reason.
Yes.
There's a reason the Pilgrims left England. And I'm just saying, I, for one, will do what I do every Cinco de Mayo. I'm going to watch El Norte tonight. Remember that movie about the brother and sister coming across the border?
No, I usually, no, I don't have a Cinco de Mayo movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay.
And, you know, and somebody somewhere is back
I have Dos Equis and tequila, which is, you know, the only way to reach out to a conservative about Cinco de Mayo, because they will celebrate it as long as you tell them Dos Equis and tequila, right? They'll be good.
I suppose this is true. Have a fabulous weekend.
Thank you very much.
I love you always.
I love you more. Thank you.
Can I do Three Amigos? Is that it's about like liberation and festivities?
It's just so bad, and I love them all, but it's so.
It is one of those classic, super entertaining, not well made. No, stop it with unwatchable. I'm making a hard stand. You hear that? That's real anger.
No.
How dare you?
Oh no. Anybody like Three Amigos? Anybody out there?
Classic.
It's an insult to classics.
Total classic.
No, they're classic. I mean, the actors are, you know, Steve Martin and Martin Short. I mean, you know, crazy good. But no. It was such a reach around, you know. It's like
what?
Yeah, it's like what was that movie where they go to the, you know, they all. So Billy, what's his name?
Zane?
No.
Billy.
From that era, Harry Met Sally.
Oh, Crystal.
Yes, Bill Crystal. So not Bill Crystal, because Bill Crystal is a conservative.
City Slickers is where you're going.
Yes, I mean, and that was the greatest. You know what the story of City Slickers really was? It was a guy who was a radio ad salesman. Okay. I mean, I loved it from the get-go. He was a radio ad salesman, and he had been called to school on, a parent's workday to tell the kids, like, what he does for a living. And they had a firefighter, and they had a policeman. And then Billy Crystal had to come in and explain that he sold air. He sold nothing, okay, to people because he was a radio ad salesman. And that's when he comes home and he lost his smile, okay? And so his wife comes up with the idea that him and his friends should get away, and they go to the ranch, okay? They do this, and that was a great freaking movie.
That was a fun movie. Daniel Stern was good in that.
And then they started doing like, what every, 80s rock band did. They peeled off a couple of players from this band and a couple of players from that band. They made the Traveling Wilburys. Oh, bite me with that. And then I had to sit and play that swill. I'm not doing it with Three Amigos.
Just for the record, Three Amigos bad, City Slickers good. I just want to keep keeping score. Okay.
You say that so snottily. What a snot you've become. What a snob.
You're taking shots at a classic. It's
horrible. It's horrible. I think
movie.
they would tell you it was horrible. I think everything about it was horrible. The hats, the premise, the acting, the whole thing. It was just, it's okay.
So we got to come up with a Cinco de Mayo traditional movie to watch.
Well,
then.
didn't Brother David just give us?
He said El Norte. That sounded pretty boring. I don't know.
Oh, what a snob you are. All right, Xavier in L.A.
Hey, Randy.
Hi.
Happy Friday.
Thank you. Am I still mispronouncing your name after all this time? X.
So what? I have a
Three Amigos. Up or down? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
You win, Brett.
Xavier,
Brett
my
wins.
man. I'm going to say your name correctly because Xavier. That's for agreeing with me, bud.
Hey, I had to get through Brett's call. I had to get through him.
I know. So you kissed his butt. You kissed his
Did Brett give you
okay.
a
I'll buy him
shout-out
some
from me?
Lumi. You could use it on your butt. My butt is named Brett.
Your butt is named Brett.
Yeah, you just said you had to kiss his butt to get through to me. So
I didn't kiss Brett's butt.
What did you do?
Hey, let's leave that up to Clarence Thomas.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Oh man.
Oh, God.
Okay. Here we go. Just give me two.
Go.
2 seconds. Oh wait, 20 seconds. Our governor in California.
Yeah, American Psycho. Yes, look-alike. That's your governor, Gavin Newsom.
Wait. Why are you calling him American Psycho?
Because he looks exactly like him. Exactly like him. You ever see that movie? You ever see American Psycho?
Exfoliating cream daily.
Oh my God! See, I mean, all that's missing is the Phil Collins studio record playing in the background.
Meatball.
Huh?
Meatball Ron.
No, listen. If you're asking me, does Newsom have a chance? Is that your question?
Who's more presidential?
Oh, okay. So you have your choice in the Republican Party is a repeat sexual offender, or meatball cruelty man, okay, who wants to erase children and take them from their parents. You know, my sainted dead mother is a better bet than either of those two. So Newsom, yes. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, he does look like Christian Bale. I'm so sorry. Every time someone says his name to me, I hear Susudio. I just do. Go watch that movie if you haven't watched that movie. American Psycho. Holy crap, man. Ooh, you know what's going to be good? Penguin. Oh. Have a weekend.